Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show, where we take a look at how you approach your work and personal life and how we can make the most out of both of them. A weekly get-together where we get real about self-improvement and development as we all make this not-so-easy journey through life. Our discussions will cover ideas and concepts from how to grow your career to how to lead your family towards prosperity and happiness. We don't pretend to know it all, and the doctor is the first to be vulnerable, discussing his own weaknesses, both past and present. This is about growing together and having some fun while we discuss what is happening in the crazy world we live in and how to make the most of it. Let's strive for awesome together. Let's get after it. Hey everybody, the doctor's here. Welcome to the Doctor Leadership Podcast. Hope you're having a great day. It's a Saturday. I'm recording this episode this weekend, and it is a college football Saturday. So exciting. Fall's here. Gotten cold this week. Feels good. Got sweatpants on, sweatshirt on. Unfortunately, going to be heading into colder days, but right now enjoying it. Hope that your team wins. Hope that whoever you're rooting for has a great Saturday. And if you root on Sunday, I hope they do well too. Hey, remember to check us out on the website at drleadershipresults.com. That's www.drleadershipresults.com. Check out the membership site, man. Got a few extra people joining last week. Thank you very much. Starting to get a little traction there again. Had a little lull. Help a brother out. And also send us any type of input you got at our email address at drleadershipresults@gmail.com. Positive, negative. Remember, I accept feedback. I don't have this thing figured out, so give me some guidance, what you'd like to hear my opinions on, anything of that nature. Would love to have the feedback. So, hey, the last couple of weeks, I told you we'd gone down, I take it down a couple paths, or take it down a path, do a couple episodes, and we're kind of changing the direction of the ship here today. In today's episode, I want to talk about leading to their heads and their hearts. The world's jacked up. Got up this morning. Hamas just launched 5,000 rockets into Israel. Israel is responding, declaring war. Here we go again, broken record. The world is a messed up place right now. We've got weak leadership everywhere in the world. We've got people fighting just to fight, and it's a bad place. And what we got to concentrate on now is helping people with the mental traumas that we're facing every single day out there. So I wanted to talk about heads and hearts. What really sucks about this is I have a neighbor who was going with a church group, his wife, for 3 weeks to Israel, leaving Tuesday. And trip is postponed, as you can imagine, going over there and working on her faith. Whether that's important to you or not doesn't matter. It's just unfortunate that these things happen and people are going to die. And more people are going to die because it's going to get ugly. But I want to talk about how do you lead to their heads and hearts. What inspired this was this morning. And then I started doing my due diligence. I had the next week's episode first, and I decided to flip them around and come at you with this one first. There was an article in Inc. magazine by Martin Zwilling. He's the founder and CEO of Startup Professionals, and he talks about leading with the heads and hearts, and references actually a young lady by the name of Dr. Kirsten Ferguson, who's written a book called Head and Heart, The Art of Modern Leadership, and I think it's a good one. I took about an hour and read through about 50, 60 pages of this thing in different sections, and she's got it going on. She's a PhD, smart lady, right? But when things are tough in life, there's basically two types of leaders. There's one, the legacy, command and control, right? The panic-stricken ones. They're about as motivating as a migraine typically. They let you see them sweat. These leaders, there is a time and place to be the boss. No, we're doing this. No, you aren't doing that. But there is many more times when you need to use skills that you either have or need to acquire to maximize results. People don't respond. You know, the old saying, the beatings will continue until morale improves. There's leaders that just go through life that way, don't understand people at all, just are not good at this. And how they got to those positions is always surprising to me, that they're in a position of leadership. But that's one type of leader, right? The command and control. And for decades, successful leaders were graded against this. Jack Welch was a command and control leader. Many think one of the greatest CEOs ever. Steve Jobs, another one. Now, command and control came about because coming out of World War II, there was a very direct command and control alignment of responsibility and a way in which to do things in the military. And you had millions of men. The women were not real strong in the workforce yet. That got corrected over time. But all they knew was command and control. So that's how businesses were led for decades. And then in the late 80s, early 90s, we started getting into the psychological side of it. And there's a mixed need that needs to go on there. So you have command and control. And then the second one, the second type of leaders, which is what I want to talk about today. And this goes into your family life, how you are as a parent, as a neighbor, if you're on a school board, if you're on your HOA, whatever it might be. These are important attributes in which to have in your little quiver of tools. The second type are those that understand that maximizing results, it comes from gaining the minds and the emotional energy of your team members, your family members, those around you. Think of awesome coaches. Think of awesome coaches that get their ass handed to them in the first half and come back in the second half and win. They got the hearts and minds at the halftime. Now, there might have been some command and control going on in there too. Jimmy, you blew your assignment. Johnny, you screwed up your block. Hey, quarterback, quit throwing to the guy in the yellow jersey. We're wearing white today. But many times, after all that's done, you got to pull it together and get the belief system tight in, because if the people don't believe they can do it, it ain't going to happen. A defeated dog is a defeated dog. Ain't even in the fight. So I go back to this book, Head and Heart, The Art of Modern Leadership by Dr. Kirsten Ferguson. Now, she's got a PhD, which I said, smart lady. The other thing she was, nothing fancy, just Royal Australian Air Force officer. Founder of the Celebrating Women campaign. Awesome. Smart lady. Smart lady. Out of Australia. She speaks a lot, teaches a lot, does a lot of things. She wrote this book, and you can take these steps. Maybe it's 6 steps. Maybe it's 5 steps. Maybe it's 10 steps. She uses 8. It's a good even number. 8 steps to concentrate on. These are the best 8 attributes, and I agree with them. The doctor approves. 1 out of 1 doctors recommend this for your mental health. Just like Dentine gum. 4 out of 5 dentists, 9 out of 10 dentists recommend. These are the 8 attributes to get to the head and heart of those around you. Now, the first one I really buy into, because I think that I try to be humble. I think I'm humble, but I do think I am number 1. Lead with curiosity. As a team role model, lead with curiosity. I am a curious guy. I know a little bit about just about everything, because over the years, cars, planes, trains, travel, sports, politics, states, history, governments, geography, I said, travel, just anything I can get into, hunting, fishing, anything you can come across that I don't know something about, I try to go and figure a little bit of something out on that. And what curiosity really means, when you're a leader in any type of situation, what it really means is you got an open mind. And this is a key attribute. Some people think when I'm on my phone, as an example, I'm scrolling, right? In the evenings, I sit on my phone a lot. I think a lot of us do. I spend too much screen time. Need to set it down. My wife and I sit and we watch a show, and we're both kind of on our screens doing our thing, checking in on family, friends. I'm scrolling. I'm hitting Insta-scam a little bit for the funnies. It's like America's Funniest Home Videos. We watch every Sunday. We like to laugh. It's how we get through the Sunday night, the anxiety coming on for Monday, get through it and do that. But the other thing I'm doing on my phone is I'm seeing lots of things I don't know something about. And I've then going out and Googling that and going into a couple different subject matter experts on whatever the topic is. That curiosity has allowed me to build kind of this hard drive full of pieces of information that can allow me to interact with a lot of different types of people. And as a leader, that's a really important attribute. I'm not only surfing, that's partially correct, but I'm voraciously reading, and I think that's a big one too. My wife reads a lot. She chooses books. I choose periodicals and news articles. But this has a great impact on what goes in your head, that what you can use to lead with. It shows willingness to take in, diverse points of view, and a big one. Then you can be more data-driven, not emotional. Accepting that you don't know everything is really, really important. So being curious shows that, hey, man, I understand. I don't know. Hey, tell me about that. If I'm in front of a customer or prospect and I see something on the wall or something comes up in conversation, hey, tell me a little bit more about that. This is how you build real relationships, which enables better decisions. The key here is when you're curious and want to build a connection, you got to be really actively present and lean in to understand. Don't ask a question to answer. Ask a question to understand. That's what curiosity means. So, number one, great attribute, lead with curiosity. Number two, gain wisdom by listening and asking questions. They tie in together here, right? If you do this, the people around you that you lead, and this is at work or at home again, they'll notice and start to do the same. See, what you're doing is you're creating behaviors to mimic. If you portray and execute good behaviors, those around you that aspire to be like you, if you're a good leader, if you're a shitty leader, people go, I ain't going to do it like that. I'm sure people say that about me. That's screwed up. I'm not going to do it like the doctor did there, like Brent did there. But by listening and asking a lot of questions, people around you, any aspect of life, they'll start to mimic. Wisdom helps in all aspects of our life, right? Wisdom is all about figuring out the why in things. There's an old rule of 5 whys. Now, if you're a parent, you may be familiar with the 20 whys from a toddler. Why? 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 Because I said so, Jimmy. As a parent, you can get there fast. Why is the sky blue? Well, it's because of the atmosphere. Why do we have an atmosphere? Well, and I run out of ability to answer that specific question rather quickly. I need to be more curious there. But not the toddler number of whys, the 20 unending, but the rule of 5 whys. And I think 5 is pretty good. I think maybe it's 3, maybe it's 6. All you're trying to do is, if you keep digging deeper, this is good for objection handling too, as an individual contributor, right? The first thing, there used to be a layer, LAER, process to objection handling. And it stood for listen, acknowledge, explore, and respond. So the key there is explore. That's the why part of it, right? The first objection a prospect or customer throws at you typically isn't the real reason that they aren't buying or what they're pushing back on. The real reason is deeper, and you got to go deeper. Same thing with acquiring wisdom. Someone says a response to you, you got to say, or gives you a piece of information, scratch at the dirt. Why is it that way? And then they tell you that piece, and they go, well, with that in mind, why is it like that? And just keep going. And sooner or later, you're going to get down to the root causal. And that's what you're trying to do. That's where you develop wisdom, is by digging a little deeper. The third one is build perspective, and I love this one too, through understanding and confirming context. So in the you can hear my notes, in the context of this crazy world of social media, there is a loss of context all the time. Somebody sends a text to me, I send a text to someone else, and the response is not what you're looking for or not what you want to have. It's because there isn't any context in the way we communicate any longer. Same with emojis and all those types of things. People can misunderstand the context. I have an interesting concept on this. We've been, the human race just found out this last week through my curiosity that in New Mexico they found some footprints in the shores of a lake. We used to think that 15,000 years ago, people came to the New World via the land bridge between Russia and what is today Alaska across the Bering Sea, the Bering Strait, and got into what is now, the United States, Canada, Mexico. Well, they just found some footprints in 2021, 21,000 to 24,000 years old. Whoops. I guess the science isn't settled. But what I used to say about all this new way we're communicating, I got lost there for a second. Where the hell's he going with this thing? 6,000, 4,000 years ago, the Egyptian used hieroglyphics to communicate. We developed language, the ability to write cursive, all these things. We're back to friggin' hieroglyphics, happy faces and LOLs and thumbs up. We can't even speak our own language any longer. Grammar matters, comma matters. Work on it. But build perspective through understanding and confirming context. Perspective allows us, both you and your team, to assign the correct meaning to what's really going on here. The meaning to the complexities and the uncertainties you're encountering every day. If you're out of context on it, you aren't solving the right problem. You're solving something that isn't even the real problem. So the digging deeper on the why then becomes into build the perspective of what are we really talking about here? And what is the context of the issue? There's a big one in sales and in all things in life. You got to learn to read the room. There's certain things you don't say in certain rooms. There's certain things you don't bring up in certain rooms. So learn to read the room for where the people really are emotionally. Look for signals. Even look for who is and who is not in the room. You know what I mean? Look to see who is and who is not. Because if someone is missing, the context may not be fully baked. All perspectives need to be represented. If someone is saying, I got a problem with so-and-so, or somebody isn't working, this department isn't working, and that department's not there to give insight on what their perspective is, it may not be the right perspective, right? If someone's missing or somebody or a team is missing, you aren't getting the right context. So as a leader, you got to make sure the room has the appropriate people in it when you're problem solving. If you want to get the minds and hearts of people, you got to make sure all the minds and hearts are in the room. Not everybody wins every deal as far as an interaction. Somebody's going to have what they could perceive as a better outcome on that decision, but you can give them the why and get the hearts and minds from both sides. The other thing as a leader to get these hearts and minds pumping is you got to help people grow and expand. And the author here, Kristen, brings this up. And the growth side of it, as a leader, you got to be committed to gaining, how would I say this? You got to lead toward people taking on a growth mindset. In these situations, those around you, you want them to be driven through aspirational mindsets, growth mindsets, towards challenges, and to achieving goals. You got to get them. That's the halftime conversation of the coach to the people on the team. Get them raring for the fight again. You got to remotivate. So to get the hearts and minds, you got to develop them into a belief mindset, into an aspirational mindset, into an achievement of goals mindset. Let them think big, coach them, point out areas to improve. Remember, feedback's a gift if you choose to accept it. We all need to accept it. You got to teach your people, your family members, those around you to take feedback. It's not personal. These are business conversations. These are family conversations. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking to you. This is really difficult with kids these days. They're very fragile, and kids are like under the age of 35. You give constructive criticism, oh, you hate me. Oh my God, I can't believe you said that about me. I'm not saying anything about you. I'm just saying, hey man, that isn't working. Have you ever given thought to trying something different? That's what we got to do to get people to grow and expand. No pity parties. Tell the tape. What are the results saying? So coach, point out areas of improvement and move forward. Now, number 5, this is a huge one for leaders. Show humility and be honest if you make mistakes. I make mistakes every day, several times, every day, in my personal life and my business life. Now, I may make, no shit, 1,000 decisions in a day. You don't realize it if you ever sit back and think, a yes and no answer, do that, don't do that, we aren't going to do that, let's do this. I got to pick up the phone and call that person. I'm not going to call that person. I need to write that email. I need to tell them to do this. You're involved in, I get 500, 550 emails every day. Yeah, really. 200 of them I'm probably CC'd on. 300 of them I got to interact with every day, along with 12, 14 meetings every day. Don't give me any pity party on you're too busy. Want a job well done, ask the busy one. The others have no time. Lots of people that busy. But show humility. The other big thing is don't demand perfection. There's an old saying that I love. Don't let great get in the way of good, because people make mistakes. As a leader, if you've got 5, 10, 15 categories, in my business, as an example, we've got lots of different product lines. We've got lots of different software solutions. We've got lots of different services solutions. We aren't going to hit every goal in every topic. I'm going to concentrate on hitting the top line, and I'm going to concentrate on hitting the bottom line. And what the mix is important, but that isn't the final score of the game. Did we hit overall plan? I promise you, Japan doesn't care if I'm short one engine here and positive 2 engines there, as long as the $1 billion mark is hit. Some people think that sales ought to be able to do everything perfectly. That isn't how it works, man. We're flawed individuals. First of all, the plan's probably jacked up in some manner. You really think the plan's perfect? If you give me a perfect plan, then you can expect me to hit perfect results. If you give the team a perfect plan, then you can expect them to hit perfect results. If you think you gave your team a perfect plan, you don't have humility. You aren't humble. You aren't a realist. Check yourself. Show humility. Don't demand perfection, and don't let great get in the way of good. Lots of good going on. Look for it, find it, pump it up. Expect the mistakes, aim for progress. Be ready to make course corrections to improve the results, but understand it's not going to be perfect. Nothing ever has been, nothing ever will be. The next thing you got to understand is, what are your own triggers? Teach by example, right? Find out what motivates your teammates, family members, and friends. We used to call this kind of something called situational leadership, right? I've had more sales training in the last 33 years than you can throw a stick at, or whatever analogy you want to use here. A lot of it has repetitive types of concepts with different titles so people can sell new books. I could even be accused of that, hitting similar topics over and over again. There's only so many topics in life, though. I think I'm more fun listening to on some of these topics. And I'm being humble. Tongue in cheek. You have to motivate people with what motivates them, not what motivates you. If you got somebody that aspires to have a boat, use that boat to get them to increase their throughput, to increase their capabilities, to increase their results. Another person may say, I care nothing about a boat. So don't use a boat in front of them. It might be a car. It might be a family vacation. It might be buying a home. It might be just helping others. God forbid it's not something tangible. That's somebody I want to hang with. A bigger issue that they're trying to solve versus their own pocketbook or their own things. They don't care about the Joneses, keeping up with the Joneses. So use situational leadership. What triggers those different members? This promotes a feeling of safety to the people too, right? Between the ears, that 6 inches between the ears, I talk about a lot. Self-management of it, and then as a leader, helping people manage the 6 inches between their ears. This, I've said before, I'm a psychologist through experience. I got more field experience than Dr. Phil in managing people's mindsets. 29 years in leadership, I've seen a lot. I didn't know I was going to have to manage through pandemic. I've had nuclear disasters hit my production facilities. I've had hurricanes take out friggin' distribution models. I've had fires destroy chip factories. I've had burning frogs' necks. The Old Testament has played out in front of my career at times. Didn't know the pandemic was going to happen. But things are going to come at you. So you got to help people feel safe and to handle the psychological burdens that are going to come at them. I understand how people respond to things. I think that's a very important attribute as a leader. I don't have it perfected. There's going to be a situation I haven't dealt with before. Just had a terrible situation. Had an employee take their own life a few weeks ago. Absolutely awful feeling. Was trying to help mentor this person a little bit too. Didn't have a long-term relationship. had just brought them under my wing as far as a person that I'm responsible for or a part of the teams I'm on in April. Boom, gone. Psychologically, they were not getting the support they needed. I feel terrible about that. Young person, great life ahead of them too. Don't ever do that. Call for help. The next item that they talked about in this book is you got to demonstrate courage to take risks. And I think this is important too. Now, I am guilty of overdoing this at times. And what I mean by risk here is I will bet on my team every single day. I'm like Pete Rose. I bet on my own team. Anybody says something about anybody on my team, let's go. I'm ready. Come on. Let's take it on. Because I'm very proud to be a part of these teams. So I'm a little guilty of it. I'll bet on my own team no matter what the odds are, what the situation is. I believe in them so much I will talk smack to anybody. And sometimes I'm probably a little overconfident. It's kind of how I am about my Iowa Hawkeyes that can't score a touchdown if they were on the 1 yard line and the defensive line forgot to show up. It's just, ugh. But you got to demonstrate courage to take some risks. I'm not talking about betting the company on anything here, but on going for it. 4th and 1, good coaches go for it because they believe in their team and inspires the team. And like 7 out of 10 times you make it. The odds say go for it every time. The odds say go for 4th down every time. Doesn't matter where you are in the field. 7 out of 10 times it's going to prove beneficial. You're going to keep the ball. Can also be small things as an individual to show courage. Raise your hand, step forward, hold a comment back, be courageous internally, right? All of that is courageous. But take some risks. Lean into it. The last one, empathy. Be empathic. I talk about this one a lot. Understand their shoes. This is emotional empathy and cognitive empathy. And what I mean by that is this. Emotional empathy is what we typically think about. It's identifying with others' feelings, right? Oh, I bet they're just going through some hard times here mentally. I get that. Cognitive empathy involves critically thinking to understand why their emotions are that way. Why their thoughts are that way. Asking internally the 5 whys. Why does Sue respond like that when that happens and not when that happens? Why would that be? And then ask another why when you figure out that first one. And dig down and down. And sooner or later, you will start to develop cognitive empathy. As a leader, you need to create better outcomes and increase job satisfaction. That's what we're talking about here right now, right? Hearts and minds, job satisfaction. People are unhappy. Open your eyes to different ideas, and getting all the people involved will help start the journey to those better outcomes. In the new hybrid workforce that we're dealing with, right? Remote, at the office some, at the office never. We have to embrace flexibility in both mindset and practices. How people go about doing things. There's different ways to skin the cat. We have to be open-minded about that stuff. So use all these attributes we talked about today, right? Number 1, be curious, right? The second one, be wise and listen. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in perspective. Confirm the context. Make sure you understand what's really going on here before you react. Help others grow. Be humble. Show humility as a leader. Huge, huge attribute. Be self-aware. Be courageous and take risks. Show empathy and be empathic. And most importantly, remember, you are awesome. Keep that shit up. Talk next week.